Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's Mike's Talks and Thoughts here. I know it's been a little while here since I've done anything other than the Last of Us reviews on the channel, but today we are back here with a characters tier list, and here we are here with Ozark. Ozark is one of my favorite shows of all time. This is one that just grew on me. I recently just finished it a couple weeks ago, and man, I absolutely adored this show. So many great moments, so many great characters, so many bad characters as well that we'll go through. And yeah, we'll just go through here, give thoughts on each of these Ozark characters, and definitely leave your thoughts down below on some of these characters, as they are very, very polarizing, many of them. So starting out here, we have Jacob Snell from the Snells here. Man, I actually really fucked with Jacob, man. He had some crazy moments, man, that was like, oh my god, like crazy shit that he would do. I'm gonna put him in the A tier. He was one of my favorite villains from this universe. I thought he was great. This great like secondary antagonist to the cartel. He was always just a menace, man. Always when he was on screen. Javi, man, someone from season 4 who's in connection with the cartel. I'm gonna put him in D here. Um, you know, someone who I wasn't really too big of a fan of. He's really just a complete asshole, man. And yeah, basically what I have to say on Javi. Grace Young, C tier, very neutral character for me. Kind of in the middle of these characters where, I don't really care too much about them. Didn't really bring the show down too bad, but didn't really do much either. Next here, Randall, one of these politicians here on the show. Another D tier character, man. I just can't stand the politicians on Ozark, man. We'll get more into that later on in this video. Wyatt, man. Wyatt's story as a Langmore is so sad, and, he's very integral to the story without being so. He's a good character, and you see him on screen a lot, so his relationship with Charlotte and his dynamic with Ruth is very interesting in the show. I love seeing it. And Wyatt, man, I think he's one of the better side characters. I'm going to put him in B tier. I don't think I like him as much as someone like a Jacob. And he never really was like an antagonist to the show. Even though in the first episode he kind of comes off as that. Just someone who got caught up in a bad situation, I'll say, with Wyatt, man. The pastor here, man, I'm going to put him in C tier. I think he had some interesting moments at points, and he was definitely more a focal point, of course, in the first season. But other than that, not too crazy, not too, indicative of the entire story here. Next up, Helen Pierce. She is a very integral character to this entire show. But for me, she's just kind of mid, man. Like, I'm not sure. She wasn't someone who I hated, and she wasn't someone that I loved. She's kind of had her good and bad moments. I think she's just like a normal C tier character. Jade here, I believe this is Sam's girlfriend. She's like C tier again, just someone who's kind of in the middle here. Same thing with Boyd here, one of the uncles. You don't really get to explore him as much as Russ and, of course, Cade, who we'll get to. But yeah. Next up here, Jonah Burr. And this is going to be polarizing for some people. But man, for me, Jonah is S tier. I loved Jonah's character. I thought that he was someone who was independent. He wasn't really that annoying. I loved a lot of the sides that he took. I loved how he was like this mini Marty, man. I fucked with Jonah, man. I loved how he had a great relationship with Buddy, and Ben here was really great to see, man. One of my favorite moments from the show, just all those moments that he had with Buddy and with Ben here. And like I said, just his interactions with everyone, I loved him. He was one of the better TV characters, especially from Ozark, and one of the best TV children. The children are always ones that are a lot of times misses, man. They're really annoying, and they'll get on your nerves. But man, Jonah was one of my favorites. Tuck here, I'm gonna put Tuck in B tier. You don't really see Tuck throughout the series. He kind of is someone who hangs around the Blue Cat. Gets a job there. He is very wholesome, and I love a lot of his conversations with Rachel and even Marty. But other than that, his character doesn't really go too far in the show, so not much to say with his character in relation to the rest of the story and in Ozark in general. Fan favorite here, and one of my personal favorites, probably my number one or two favorite character in this entire show, Ruth, man. Ruth Langmore was amazing, man. She had so many great badass moments. She was fucking amazing. She had some of the best acting, just the emotion that she gives, and probably my favorite episode from the show. She gives one of the best performances in that episode. She's great throughout her entire time on the show. Just a standout character that everyone loves, and for good reason. Ben Davis, man. He's going to be very polarizing for a lot of people, especially because of the actions that he sort of takes in the show. I think he's a B tier character. He's kind of a fuck up man, I'm not going to lie. But I know he means well, and he means well to the story, and I loved his interactions with Jonah and trying to fit in with the family. But shit just went downhill, man, and he never was going to come back from what he did, man. Just crazy. Darlene Snow, man, for me, F tier, bro. She, especially like the first season, maybe even the second season as well, she was awful. I absolutely hated her, man. She was just the definition of filth, man. Like, she was just an awful person. Awful, 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 awful. And I love Jacob, and I hate how Darlene and Jacob, they kind of have that good bond where they kind of keep the other one in check. But man, Jacob, easily the better of the Snells, couldn't stand Darlene. She got better as the seasons went on, but definitely one that was not one of my personal favorites, of course, and one of the most annoying characters for me. Frank Jr. here, I think he's like a C tier character. At first, he was just like a complete asshole that was, going after Ruth. But then, he starts getting his character developed more, and I liked him a lot, especially in the later seasons of Ozark. And Ozark is a very serious show, but if there is any comedy aspects, I think that some of the scenes with Frank Jr. are definitely those scenes. He's okay, and yeah. Next year we have Cade. I'm gonna put Cade in D. I don't like Cade at all. But man, every time he was on screen, he was very unpredictable, man. You always knew he was gonna be this hothead, man, and seeing Ruth try and control her father and just didn't work, and seeing his background of him in prison and stuff, and him getting out, and just seeing what he's gonna do and how he's gonna get involved in this story, it was always intriguing to me and always kept me on edge. But other than that, his character is just a complete disaster, man. He is a total bitch, man. Can't stand that dude. Charlotte here, another one. I liked her, but wasn't too crazy about her in the end. She was just kind of mid to me. C tier, sort of like Helen. She had her good and bad moments, but she definitely wasn't as annoying as I thought she was going to be. You get these children, like I said, of shows similar to Ozark, and they are just unbearable. But Charlotte here, she was a solid character from the show, but kind of just on that average level. Wendy the Wench here, F tier, man. Fuck Wendy, fuck her, bro. Me and my friend from work who actually introduced me into getting into Ozark, we call her Wendy the Wench, man. She is just a wicked witch, man. She is awful. At first, Darlene was worse to me than Wendy, but as the show went on, bro, Wendy just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and it never got better. Every episode, she progressively got worse, more annoying, more hated, and yeah, she just absolutely fucking sucks. She deserves fucking F tier. She might even deserve her own tier, bro. She's that fucking bad. She is trash. Yeah, fuck Wendy. Marty deserved better. Camilla here, C tier. She's not really in a lot of the story until the very end. Sort of on that cartel side of the story. C tier, average character. Claire Shaw, man, I didn't really fuck with her, man. She's like D tier. Maybe if she had more scenes, she'd be an F tier, but I just didn't really fuck with her. Man, now here's an antagonist like similar to K, where he's just a complete asshole, but this dude was a lot more interesting to me as a character, and I would love to seen um, Dell dove in a little bit deeper, man, with his character and stuff. I'm gonna put him in B tier, man. Dell is like the first person you meet from the cartel that lets Marty know like shit is hitting the fan. In the first episode, great to see. Three here, I'm gonna put three in B tier, even though he's like very sporadically throughout the series. I love the origin of his name, named after Dale Earnhardt. That's why it's called three, and um, he's pretty cool on scene. He doesn't do anything that annoys me. He's a little bit of above average character. I would love seeing him in scenes with Wyatt and Ruth and at the Langmore. So he definitely never takes away from a scene. So he's got to go in B tier for that. Agent Petty's F tier. Fuck him, man. I couldn't stand this motherfucking prick, bro. He was a piece of shit. Did not fuck with him, man. And yeah, just absolutely trash. Just like someone in comparison to like June Stahl on Sons of Anarchy. Fucking horrible fucking agent that just every time they're on screen makes your blood boil. Russ here. I'm going to put Russ in C. I feel like his character is at least a little bit developed. I wasn't too crazy about him, though. Pretty average character. He gets involved with a lot of shit, especially in the first season. And he's very integral to how the Langmores proceed moving forward throughout the rest of the show. And it's really interesting to see that dynamic of the Langmores without Russ and with Russ as well. So, Russ is just kind of there, and he does add to the story, but not one of my favorites. Buddy here. I loved Buddy, bro. Buddy is S tier, man. His interactions with Jonah were probably some of my favorite moments in the entire show, even above like some of the badass moments. I just love their interactions. Buddy comes out, and the reason why the house is so cheap to get the stars because Buddy's living there, and he was always so great, man. I loved his connections back in Detroit, of course, represent. Such a lovable character, man. Great old man. Just can't hate, man. Can't hate. Charles, bro, I did not like this dude. I don't think he's quite on F tier, though. He didn't annoy me every single time he was on screen, but this dude was just takes up space, man. Like, he's kind of involved with Wendy and just don't really give a fuck what she's involved with and don't really care about him. So, yeah, D tier character. Aaron Pierce here. She's interesting, and I thought she would maybe become more integral to the story as shit kind of hit the fan. But I'm going to go C tier with her character. She's just kind of on that Charlotte level. Someone who, is the kid of one of these big players in the game, and she just kind of has to go along with it. And like I said, I thought when she hit the fan that she would become more integral. She would start becoming more engrossed into the story. Doesn't really happen. Jim, another one kind of like Charles here, who Wendy deals with. I'm going to put him in the C tier. I didn't hate him as much as Charles. But again, just someone who all he's on screen for is to push this political shit for Wendy, which I really didn't care about. So can only go so high. Maya Miller here, man. I actually really fucked with her as an FBI agent. I think she was one of the better ones. Like, of course, Petty was fucking trash and horrible. But Maya was actually really cool. I'm going to put her in the A tier, man. I really liked her. Even though she's meant to be this antagonist or someone against Marty, man, she was always likable in doing it. She always did things the right way and always had that code. And of all the FBI agents, she was by far my favorite on this show. Mel Saddam, bro. Fuck this dude, man. F tier, bro. This fucking PI, bro, that comes in like season 4 who just fucks shit up for everyone, man. Yeah, and he's very integral, I would say, to season 4 and what happens. But man, he is just so unlikable. I did not fuck with this dude at all. And yeah, F tier. Bruce Liddell, D tier. This is like Marty's business partner at the start of the show. He's a fucking asshole and just doesn't understand how to play the game. Gets fucked up for it. Sam, I loved Sam. I kind of want to put him A tier just because he was always, again, if there was any comedic moments in the show, he was kind of those and just so naive and playing it wrong. And I loved his interactions with Ruth especially. But I think I can only put him in B tier. He just wasn't in a lot of scenes. I loved him at the casino and just him being involved in this business without knowing he's involved in the business is just really great to see, man. This guy was always great. He was so likable as a character too. Like he never did anything that annoyed you. He was just a normal person going through doing his life, man. Agent Trevor, C tier. He's kind of has like this relationship with Petty, but doesn't really get much expansion upon it other than that. He just kind of interrogates people. Not much else to his character. Sheriff John, I didn't really care too much about the Ozark Sheriff Department. I was more focused on, the FBI agents. I seemed like they were way more in control of the story than the sheriffs ever were. The sheriffs always did pull some strings for either, Darlene or Wendy. But yeah, Sheriff John, just kind of a C tier character. Nathan here, the dad here. He's like a D tier character, man. I didn't really fuck with this dude at all. He was okay. Kind of comes back into Wendy and Marty's life here and just fuck shit up, man. You find out about his past being this like abusive father and shit, and it's just not pleasant to see. He's not a likable character, so he's just like a D tier character. But I will say I will take him over Wendy any day. I will take his side over Wendy's any day. Sue Selby here, the therapist. She's like C tier. Again, someone who gets involved with Marty and Wendy later on in the story. Kind of doesn't really do much other than, kind of be their therapist. And basically she's just like a scapegoat for Marty to tell Wendy how he's feeling without telling her directly. So that's basically all she does. Eugenia, this is this is Sam's mom. Like D tier. I didn't really care for her much at all. Frank Sr. thought he was a decent antagonist again with his son Frank Jr. I'm gonna put him in B tier though. I loved his introduction, the KC mob, and him going back with Buddy was very great to see. Marty Byrde, of course, the leader and standout of the show. He's gonna go in S tier. Probably my favorite characters between him and Ruth as my favorite character on Ozark here. He was just always great. Jason Bateman's always been great. Even though I'm not the biggest Arrested Development fan, he was always my favorite character from Arrested Development. He's always in a lot of great projects, and man, he is great. He just has to deal with an entire shitstorm, man. He has to keep all the pieces happy and moving and happy. And it's like, I don't even know how the fuck he does this, man. Juggles all these different pieces. And it's just really compelling, interesting. Keeps you on the edge of your seat, man. Marty Byrde, amazing character. Omar Navarro, man. One of the big leader of the cartel that Marty has to deal with. I'm going to go B tier. He definitely becomes a lot more of a presence in the later seasons. He's always there, but like I said, more involved with Wendy and Marty later on in the show. He's interesting, man. He's an interesting character, but not one of my favorites. Not one of my personal favorites. I think he's B. I think he's a little bit above average just because he has a lot more screen time than some of these other characters. And yeah. Nelson, man, one of the sort of hitmen here. I think he's like C tier. Okay character. Not one of my favorites. I will say, though, that he has some interesting scenes. Leave it at that. And then finally, Rachel here from the Blue Cat Lodge. She has a lot of story, especially at the start of the show. I'm going to put her in B tier, though. I really did like her character. I thought that her situation had like no way of getting out of it, and then they finally find a way to resolve her situation, and it's really great to see, man. But yeah, that is it here for the Ozark characters. As we take a look here, we have 4 in the S tier, 4 in the F tier, most around the C tier, a few Bs, a couple As. I would say the Ozark, if I had to describe it for characters, their top is really, really good. And then you have a lot of clumps just in the middle, don't really do much. And then you also have the bottom of the barrel, man, the lowest of the lows that just you can't stand on screen, man. But a lot of these characters work together in contrast, so it definitely makes for compelling TV. Seeing what's going on, the story's always on go, go, go mode, and definitely a show you should check out. And if you have seen it, let me know your thoughts down below on Ozark. And again, definitely a show I think you should check out if you haven't already. Great show. And yeah, it's going to do it here for the characters tier list here for Ozark. Take care, everyone, and peace out.